God has placed something in your spirit. Let's call it a coming attraction or a sneak preview. And the reason you cannot stop thinking about starring in a movie, you cannot stop thinking about building a nonprofit, you cannot stop thinking about writing a best-selling novel or nonfiction book, it's because it's a trailer that God has placed in your mind and in your heart. But dig this. What Hollywood producer would spend thousands of dollars to make a trailer for a movie that would never come out? I'm going to share some information with you that I wish I had known. Not when I was 20 or 30. I wish I had really fully understood this when I was in my 50s. And in a nutshell, what I'm about to share with you, it's what separates the good from the great. It's what separates the good from the great. There's an amazing book with that title called From Good to Great. It says, good is the enemy of great. And that is one of the key reasons why we have so few that become great. We don't have great schools principally because we have good schools. We don't have great government principally because we have good government. Few people attain great lives in large part because it's just so easy to settle for good lives. Now, let me say, I love this book once again, and I've lived by this principle for many years, but those words are not exactly true in and of themselves. And what I mean by that is that the author could have gone a lot deeper if he had the information I'm going to share with you today. In fact, when you fully understand what I'm about to share with you today, you'll understand what Michael Jordan has in common with that 600-pound woman there. You'll understand what both of them have in common with Warren Buffett, considered to be the greatest investor the world has ever seen. And you'll understand what the three of them have in common with Martin Luther King. You see, when Michael Jordan played back in the 90s, and if you remember in this game, he hit 6 3-pointers in a row. 6 3-pointers in a row. And then after he did it, Magic Johnson, who he had been, as he mentioned in the documentary, he was, I think he was playing cards with the night before. Magic Johnson was at the announcer's table announcing the game. And that look he's looking at Magic saying, dude, I don't know what's happening. It's just going in. Well, when announcers see that this is happening to an athlete, what they typically say is, what? He's in the zone. He's in the zone. Well, by the time we're finished, what I want you to understand is not only what they refer to as the zone is, but I also want you to understand how you can get into the zone. The Bible says, if you can, said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. Everything is possible for one who believes, because there is a force out there that is dedicated to making you believe that it's impossible, that those things are past, those things are over, that you might as well give up. Nobody in your family did that. Who do you know earned that? How can you have this in your life? And the job of this enemy is to see itself in your subconscious, which we're going to talk about later, and to continuously remind you that it's impossible, that it's impossible. But when you start to speak those things that are as though they are, things start to happen in the earth realm. So when you find yourself feeling fear or doubt or feeling that you've hit a wall in your life, just say those words to yourself. It's possible. It's not deep. It's not Greek. It's not Hebrew. It's not very profound. But just remind yourself that it's possible. Now, and once you start doing that, you will notice that the doubt will decrease. You will notice that things start to lighten up in your life. Because see, if the enemy can make you believe that it's impossible, he can make you accept that your life is less than God has in store for you. Let me say that again. If the enemy can make you think that it's impossible, he can make you accept the fact or believe that life is less than God has in store for you. The story is told about a man who had bought a new house. He had dreamed of this house. He saved his money to buy this new house. And then once he bought the house, he discovered that he needed to go to the store to buy some new supplies to hang pictures. So while he was getting ready, when he's getting ready to get up to go out and buy some new supplies to hang up more pictures in the house, an amazing thing happened. The lights went off in the house. He decided that he wanted to find his keys to go to the store. So when the lights went off, he couldn't find his keys. So he was searching and searching and searching, trying to find those keys. Suddenly, he had this brainstorm. There was lights outside the house. So what did this genius do? He went outside to start looking for his keys because there's more light outside. So he's looking and he's looking for his keys outside the house because there was no light inside the house. Well, sooner or later, a friend walked up, one of his new neighbors, and said, "What's going on?" And he said, "I can't find my keys." So the guy says, "Okay, well, let me help you find them." So together they started looking and looking for the keys. And then the guy said, "Well, where's the last place you had the keys?" And he said, "I had them in the house, but the lights are off in the house. So I decided to look outside the house." Now, I know that sounds stupid. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds absolutely, positively insane. But are we much different? Isn't it amazing how we, men who are intelligent, many times can look outside ourselves for answers instead of looking inside ourselves to find out what God would have us to do? Many times we are looking outside of ourselves for answers. If the enemy can make you search outside, he can keep you distracted from finding the real key, the real answer to your problems. If the enemy can make you look outside, you will never discover how you can get out of the financial bind you're in. If he can make you look outside, then he can stop you from getting the help that you deserve. So focus on what's going on inside. The key to a better marriage is inside. The key to tripling your income, to writing that bestseller, to starting that ministry, to starting that business idea, all of those things are inside of you. And the fact that you do not readily see how it should be done, or how it can be done, I should say, is irrelevant. But the key to doing those things are inside. So today I'm going to give you 3 things that if you fully understand and unlock, will unlock the greatness inside of you. Last Saturday, I went to see this great movie called The Woman King. Great movie. I'd highly advise you going out and watching it. But before seeing it, I watched the trailer. The trailer was good. The trailer was very good. But the trailer could not compare to the movie. The trailer was only produced to announce the coming of the movie. God has placed something in your spirit. Let's call it a coming attraction or a sneak preview. And the reason you cannot stop thinking about starring in a movie, you cannot stop thinking about building a nonprofit, you cannot stop thinking about writing a best-selling novel or nonfiction book, you cannot stop thinking about starting a family, adopting a child, you name it. It's because it's a trailer that God has placed in your mind and in your heart. But dig this. What Hollywood producer would spend thousands of dollars to make a trailer for a movie that would never come out? Why would God give you a trailer if there was not the possibility of a movie, of something great being birthed, of something amazing being done in the earth realm? You see, the trailer is the proof that there is something within you that's bigger than you. The trailer is the proof that there's something in you that's far bigger than you, a vision so big that if you saw the finished product before it's time, it will scare you to death. And that's, you see, there's a old African proverb that says, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. In other words, there is nothing you cannot do if you access all God has placed within you. Thank you, Holy Ghost. I'm going to have to preach that one sometime. There's nothing you cannot do if you access all that God has placed in you. If you utilize the gifts and talents that God has already given you. And let me just say this, my biggest enemy is the inner me, the inner me. And let me take it one step further. When you complain, when you whine, when you moan, when you grumble, when you woe is me, can I tell you what you're doing? You're doing two things. First of all, you're praising the devil. You're giving him the benefit. You're bringing his name up in conversation. All the power that he has over your family, all the power he has over your health, over your business. You're giving him the credit. And secondly, you're killing the gift that God has placed within you. You're praising the enemy and at the same time killing the gift with the words that's coming out of your mouth. And that ties directly into our topic for today. When you complain, when those words come from your mouth, they're coming from the body. It enters the soul and it affects your spirit. It comes from the body, it enters your soul, and it affects your spirit. Understanding what I'm about to share with you can literally make you like Jordan in game one. You're unstoppable. You know, one thing I remember Jordan saying, he said, when my game is on, I don't care how good you are, you're at my mercy. What he's talking about, even though I don't think he fully understood it, is he was able to tap into what we're going to talk about today. That's how he was able to take himself to another level where he was totally unstoppable. People who understand what we're going to talk about today are able to excel in business to the next level, to excel in finance, to excel in education to the next level. My dear brother Kobe. Kobe was also one of those people who could tap into that thing. Kobe had a unique way of training in the off season. He referred to it as his 666 workouts. Obviously, I'm not crazy about the name, but this is what Kobe would do. He said he would work out 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, 6 months a year. 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, 6 months a year. This 6-hour routine is divided into 2 hours of basketball skills, 2 hours of weight training, 2 hours of track work. In fact, Kobe said if he got a teammate and if he had to fight with the teammate to get them into the gym, he didn't want to play with them. If I got to fight with you to get you in the gym, we can't even roll. He said, I want a guy who I have to fight with to get out the gym. Why did he have the Mamba mentality as he would trademark it? It was something bigger than him inside of him. This is important for you to catch. The more he worked the body, it will go into the soul and it would enter his spirit. So today we're going to talk about the soul, the spirit, the soul, and the body. The spirit, the soul, and the body. If you read 1 Thessalonians 5:23, it reads, "And the very God of peace sanctify you whole. And I pray God, your whole spirit and your soul and your body be preserved blameless until the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ." We are made up of three entities: a body, soul, and a spirit. The body is the aspect of us we see in the mirror. That's the part of us that we need to go to the gym. That's the part of us that women put makeup on. We get the haircut. That's the body. Okay? The soul is the middle aspect of us. It's the aspect of us that we refer to sometimes as our personality. Sometimes it's referred to as the mind. It's also referred to us as our will. It's the seat of our emotions. And sometimes we refer to it as our consciousness. That's the conscious man. Your spirit, I look at your spirit as being like your modem. It's the part of you that receives messages from God. It's the part of you that God drops and things into. I want you to do X, Y, Z. And you felt that in your spirit. Okay? It's your transporter. It's how you speak to God. We can only come to God, as the Bible says, in spirit and in truth. We must communicate with God spiritually. It's not coming from your soul. It's not coming from the body, but it comes to us. It goes to God from our spirit. And that connection with him is divine, because the soul, the spirit and the soul are what goes to heaven. The body remains here. That's why when the Bible says that man judges the outer appearance, but God is judging the heart. The heart is also a euphemism for the word, your spirit, okay? Now let me go just a little bit deeper into this. We showed this slide earlier. Those four people all have something in common, okay? Information entered their body. It felt good to the soul, and it resided in their spirit. Now, as I was saying, it might not have felt good initially to the soul. The soul might have even rejected it. Many times when people do drugs, initially, it don't taste good or feel good, or they don't even like it. The soul immediately rejected it. But through repetition, which is I'm going to talk about later on, repetition, which is what Kobe did, shooting all those shots. Repetition, which I'm sure Jordan would tell you he did over and over again. With repetition, the soul accepted it. It felt good. I'm also sure that if you were to go back to Kobe, I'm sure that the first time he did that 666 workout, that it didn't feel good to his soul. I'm sure that it was times that first time he did, he might have threw up. He might have vomited. I don't know if I can do this every day. I don't, this is too hard. Maybe I do it 3 times a week. Maybe I do it. Initially, the soul may have rejected it. But the crazy thing about the soul is this: if you do it enough, the soul will learn to fall in love with it. To the point where I would flat guarantee you, there was time when those 6 months was over, he thought, maybe I should go in one more day. Maybe I'm going to do it 2 more days. I'm just going to do it 1 more week. Because the soul had transported that emotion, that feeling, that rush of adrenaline. It transported that into the spirit. That's the small thing that makes a big difference in your life. So going back to my boy, Michael Jordan, and I brought this up earlier. Why did he shrug his shoulders? It's because something inside of him didn't fully understand what was going on outside of him. He knew hard work paid off. He understood that intimately by this point in his career. But things were working so well for him. He's looked at magic and say, dude, I can't explain it. As a performer, as an athlete, as a businessman, this is when you call yourself being in the zone. When you've moved from the body, you're no longer operating in the soul, but you've entered the realm of the spiritual. And there are times when people who sit at the press conferences, athletes like Michael Jordan or Allen Iverson or Magic, and they'll sit there and they're just shaking their head. And one thing they usually say about basketball, they'll say, you know, the hoop looked like it was 3 feet wide. Everything I threw up just fell in. It's because they've moved from the body. They've entered the soul, and it's resided in their spirit. Let me go back to our very first slide, our earlier slide here, and talk about this diagram a little bit. The consciousness is inside the soul, but the subconsciousness resides in the spirit. The subconsciousness resides in the spirit. It's what moves you when you don't realize you're even being moved. It's the part of you that controls you that you may or may not be able to understand yourself. Why? Because it's in your subconsciousness. You see, all of these people do things that they cannot at times fully understand. That's why Dr. King said in one of his documentaries, he was being interviewed, and he said he never wrote down the words, "I have a dream." Those words were never written down. He made one of the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest speech of all times. But he never wrote down the words, "I have a dream." But they were planted in his subconscious by Mahalia Jackson. And he said that as he was speaking, and you listen to the speech sometime, listen to the people in the background, you will hear this woman's voice. As he's wrapping it up, she says, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." And then from that little spark, it sprung out of his subconsciousness, and he spoke words that shook the world. But let's look at it from the opposite side of the spectrum. See the large woman in the slide? Do you think that she's happy in any way with her life? Do you think she's happy being, I don't know, maybe 30 years old, 35 years old, and being in a wheelchair? This young lady may have had an active life when she was young. Who knows? Somebody might have done something to her. Who knows what caused her to get in the situation she is in physically? But something jumped into her spirit. Initially, she may or may not have enjoyed it. The food could have been a substitute for love, for masking the hurt, the pain. But it moved from the soul into her spirit, into her subconsciousness. Now she cannot even control herself. The same thing happens for a prostitute. The same thing happens to a drug addict. They don't choose to sit there, "Oh my God, let me go do crack." It controls them. The same thing happens for a man who will not work, just won't work. People call him lazy, staying with his mom at 35. I don't care, because something is in his subconsciousness that's controlling him and making him do what he does. And that brings me back to the power of repetition. The more you hear things with your body, the more you see things with your eyes, your body, the more things you feel within your body, the more it will make its way to your soul. Repetition. Initially, like I said about COVID, maybe you don't even like the feeling initially. You might not like getting high. You might not like doing the thing that you're doing. But eventually, it will get itself inside your soul. Now, let me say this. You can choose to do drugs if it's in your conscious mind. You can just start smoking weed. You can choose to do things if it stays in your conscious mind. An athlete can turn it up and practice for a week, go out and have an amazing game. I know, I did it before. But the next week, couldn't find me. You can have money. You can want to be a millionaire and save and invest and become a millionaire. You can do that. But what separates the good from the great? The good from the great One has success in his soul, and the other has success in his spirit. Next question is there anything you had to repeat until it got into your soul? Anything that you can attest to, that the power of repetition, that you did so much that it became a part of you?
Hey, what's up, Tim?
Hey. Yeah. Go right ahead, Sam.
So real quick, I've always been positive, but in the first 10 years when you get married, you go through a whole bunch of trials and tribulations. And so my main thing was, I guess, in terms of income, being, in my 40s, my late 40s, I was making maybe around $40,000, $50,000. And I knew I could do better. And so a lot of the companies I would go in and not work, I was more or less like a game changer. And so I come in and basically redo the business unit and make it more profitable than what it was. But as you know, in corporate, they don't award you on that.
Right.
Per se. And so I took it upon myself. I was like, all right, I'm not doing it for them, I'm doing it for me. And so as a result of that, within like 4 years, I had an opportunity. I was first, they promised me that they were going to fast track me into management. I wound up becoming a whistleblower, wound up doing a trace on their business practices and stuff like that. And I realized there was huge gaps. And they were trying to point that on me. And I was like, no, I said, your paperwork is all messed up. So as a result of that, they wound up firing one of the people because he was basically stealing from the company. And it was millions of dollars that we were talking about. So you would think that I would have gotten promoted. Didn't happen.
Wow.
I wound up getting a 3% raise. 3% raise that 1 year. Second year, it dropped down to 2. And then the first one was like 0.6. So I was like, all right, I got to make a move. I got to pivot. So I knew what I was doing. I was consistent and it was repetitious. And I had perfected my craft. So as a result of going out on faith, I wound up doubling my income to 95,000. Did that for about 3 months. And then the guy was like, no, we want to bring you on board. We're going to offer you, what's it going to take? So he's like, all right, I'll give you another 10. And then I haven't looked back since then. So it's consistency. It's just like with, it's consistency, just like with Kobe and Shaq. You got to believe in yourself and you got to have identity. You got to know yourself. And you're going to know that because you're spiritual. And so, you got to read the Bible for yourself because a lot of times some of these pastors, they missed the message. And now they're kind of going back and saying, hey, we were wrong about this and that. But, a lot of people, they walked away unless they went and they read it for themselves. And that's my 2 cents.
You said a mouthful there because when you do something over and over and over again, you start seeing success. And what the enemy wants to do is bring failure to you. So when you are a Kobe, when you are a MJ, when you are a whoever, fill in the blank, when you into the 2 seconds left in the game, or when you're making those phone calls, whatever, you'll start getting glimpses of success. You start seeing the ball go through the hoop. You'll start seeing the person saying, yeah, I want to buy. You'll start seeing success right before your eyes, right before you make the phone calls. That's why repetition is very important. Thank you so much for sharing that, Brother Sam. Brother Derek, you back?
Yes, Tim, I'm back.
Go right ahead, my brother. Have you done anything that you repeated over and over again until it got into your soul and eventually your spirit?
That's a simple one for me.
I thought it was.
Yeah. Just the gym. The gym. I was a skinny kid. I was around 135 at 18 years old.
Whoa.
Yes.
And one of your arms that much now.
All right. And
oh my.
And I always say that I watched a lot of anime and comic books. And I wanted to learn discipline. So my brother, who happened to, he had started wrestling in high school. So he used to come home and practice on me. All right. Now my brother was bigger, older, and he used to beat me. And
okay,
I hated losing. So I decided that I was going to start working out so I could match his strength. But what happened once I hit the gym, I noticed it wasn't just like my body changing, my confidence, the way I saw stuff. Right, just going day in and day out where, you know, when you first start working out, it's interesting when you look at people, they lift in like huge heavy weights, and it's intimidating. Mm-hmm. But I think the gym, this is a personal perspective, I think the gym is the closest in terms of building people up to the church.
Yeah. Right.
To the church, because I think it's the one place that everybody that goes, no matter how they look, what shape they're in, their aim is to be better.
Wow.
And so
good analogy.
I'm seeing these guys strong, big, huge, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna get here. I don't know how yet, right? Because in the beginning, you're really not sure how it's even possible,
right?
But I remember my first 6 months in the gym, my body changed. Right? Like my body, I put on like 20 pounds of muscle, and my walk changed a little bit. You know, the confidence, your chest is poking out a little bit more. And some of the guys that used to come in there, you know, they start saying little things like, hey, big man, get out the way. I'm like, big man? Like, when did I become big man? But through the years, the consistency of the gym has shaped and informed every other single part of my life. From it's been over 20 years now. From the consistency and the daily routines, I've utilized that whenever I don't have knowledge about something. I literally create the same program, right? So if I want to learn a new skill set, I literally order 5 books on the skill. I will spend the next 3 months just researching and reading nothing but something to that skill set. And I've noticed that every 6 months when I come out of it, I have a new skill set. I may not be an expert, right? But I know enough that I could talk to somebody who's an expert at it, and they don't see me as an imposter. Right. So the daily routine has shown me that you can learn anything if you give yourself time and consistency and actually put in the work or go into the place. So I think for me, just the gym has been the biggest change, and the daily work has changed the impact of my life.
Wow, that is so powerful. That is how you put yourself in the zone. And you remember the first thing he said he used to watch anime. He used to watch these cartoon characters, in his case, or bodybuilders who had what he was looking for. So I would assume that his father or neighbors or whatever did not have that physique that he was looking for. So he went outside of himself to find that thing that he wanted to mimic, to pull it into his world. And he also mentioned consistency, doing it over and over and over again. And we've been talking about sports, but as he said, he transferred it into the rest of his life. He would never tell you this because he's very humble, but he's been a very successful businessman doing business on a couple of continents. That's because he used those same principles to put himself in that zone that I was talking about Michael Jordan using. I'm going to cut off right now. Thank you so very much. I don't want to go over on our time. Thank each and every one of you for joining us. For the reason I'm going to cut off right now.